So, welcome everyone to another Discord Saturday live class. My name is Goro Fujita, and today I'm gonna do a completely unprepared freestyle session. So, let's dive right in. Do you guys have any suggestions? Like, I was about to start painting like a story moment of, one of them, my robots, right? So I'm gonna start with that. But if you have any suggestions of what you want me to cover, you can just let me know, because I want to make this stream very interactive. So if you have specific questions about techniques I use or what you have seen in the past, just talk. Don't be shy. No suggestions? Okay, I'll just keep going.
I think we're gonna wait till you get something based on before we start to ruin it.
All right, that sounds good. Yeah.
You can get a robot and a chow chow.
Oh, Chow Chow is kryptonite for Quill, right? Because of the fur.
yeah, that would be
hard. You would have to do like this and then this. Okay, this is a Chow Chow foundation, right? This is the foundation of a Chow Chow. Oh my god! Let's see how much my GPU can handle. I have a 3080, so this is Mochi, our.
Perfect.
But why is he green? He's like a cream. And he's a cream chow. Oh, it's lagging a little bit.
I can feel that. Yep.
Some lighting here, right? There we go.
Beautiful.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thanks for attending the session. We'll see you next week.
But I'm always impressed how much the 3080 can handle. That's for sure. So I'm just gonna.
I got a 3070 recently, and granted, it's not a 3080, but I've been trying to think of all the things I couldn't do before. Like there was some rendering stuff and other super high way max out settings, but I forgot that I played Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I was doing it in VR on my old 1070, and it was just not able to handle it. But now I'm curious if I can pull it off.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's crazy how much you feel it even in Quill, right? How it just starts being you feel the difference. I upgraded from I think it was from 1070 to Titan XP, from Titan XP to RTX, and man, every time you upgrade, you feel like a crazy boost,
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing.
You're just able to do what you just did without it completely turning into a slideshow. It's kind of a slideshow.
Yeah, it is for sure. And then it takes the time. It takes a while to delete it too, right? The strokes once you select them, and when you try to move them, bye. That's okay. I'm just gonna create a foundation here. Those are rocks. And I'm imagining now, maybe I can do a little junkyard robot or something that is reading a book to little forest critters. Right? So, how about that? Sound good?
So I actually have a narrative question, Goro.
Yes.
Yeah, so whenever you do these scenes, they're very well fleshed out, and I always wonder, do you start with the maybe an emotion and then you fill it in, or do you start with a technique that you would like to do, and then you sort of attach the emotions and the story to it? Or how does that process look like for you?
That's a good question. I think the story muscle, the narrative muscle, is just learning how to paint, right? Learning how to write, learning how to play basketball. Everything requires practice, right? And I think I've been doing so many pieces over the years, over the past decade, that I've been training my muscle to always think about story. So when I do client work and stuff, I'm very aware of that stuff, right? So I will just spend time to, on the story itself. But when I do this freestyle stuff, I feel stuff becomes muscle memory at some point. So, of course I have like moments where it's going to be difficult for me to come up with something, or I'm uninspired and stuff. That happens pretty frequently too. But I think when I prepare something like this to come up with a story, like I like the fact that it's like an organic process for my daily pieces, because I can come up with stories on the fly that I might have not prepared for. And I think the reason why I can do this is, I think, because I spend so much time doing these every day, thinking about story, always thinking about a reason why things are in your scene, right? So for example, a classic thing that people do, right, in concept art is like they create like this environment, and then they put like a mountain in the background, and then they just put a guy here, right? Yeah. That's like very classic, and then they think it's done, right? But this doesn't tell me anything. Right? Like basically this guy, I ask a lot of my students, like, why did you put this guy here? And they say like, oh, for scale. And I'm like, wrong answer, right? Like, I want to know who this guy is, right? So by making this mountain now, like by designing it maybe super spiky, right? Scary. And by putting simply a backpack on him and maybe a hat, and his stance changes. Let me make a more dynamic stance. Wow. But all of a sudden, let me give him some travel gear. So all of a sudden, there's story. This is an explorer, right? And he came a long way to conquer this mountain, or whatever this is going to be, right? So it's like little things like that. Like you think about who he is, right? Not just a person for scale. You think about, oh, he's a traveler, right? So he came a long way. So maybe the terrain was really hard to conquer, so he has a stick, right? So this is like how you can start building a story around your concepts, right? And when I create something like the robot story here, I think about, how I like that tech, like robots and stuff. I don't like to see them as like, sci-fi machines. I like to give them personality, right? So that's my goal. So I want to make them relatable, cute, and like really nice, right? And those are not giant killer robots or anything. So how do I approach this, right? How do I make it like relatable and personal, where you can feel empathy and stuff like this? Then I will think about what can you do to convey this emotion. Maybe reading a book, right? Maybe watching a movie together or something. So there's like many things you can do, but reading a book is a very common thing you do with your kids, right? Now you read a book before bedtime and stuff like that. So I think about that stuff and see like, oh, and maybe instead of kids, he's reading to animals. And why animals? Because animals are in general like they don't have prejudices, right? They are very pure. So that's why the robot is drawn towards them. And that's why it's not a kid. But it could be a kid, right? But this is how I start thinking about, different possibilities and scenarios. And I can still, change my mind and change it up to maybe it's not a book, right? If you tell me like, hey, can you use something else? Maybe he's playing a musical instrument towards them, right? And so it's like, that's how I kind of do my freestyle sessions. It's very different when I work for a client. When I work for a client, I have to dig much deeper and think about those deeper layers. Like when I do a children's book or something like that, there's a reason why I design things in a certain way, because I can't just freestyle. And that's why it triggers me when, people ask me for a job and they say, it could be just like one of your speed paintings, so don't spend more than half an hour on it. And I'm like, dude, that's a freaking insult, like you're paying for my experience and not for the time I'm spending on it, right? So it's really important to remember that if you work on a project, it can't be just like something that you wing out of your sleeve, right? It's you really have to make sure that every design decision has a reason. And I don't necessarily do that always for my daily paintings because I don't have time, right? So it has to be like really quick. So when I do something like this today here, the live, I'm gonna give him just 4 fingers. I feel, you know, I don't have the pressure, and I kind of like the happy accidents. I'm kind of waiting for them, right? Just like Yari does with his abstract art, you know, like you kind of wait for these moments and let this build organically, which can also work really well. And sometimes you can do really cool pieces by doing so. But yeah, it's a difference between freestyle and client work, that's for sure. Does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I think you've more than answered it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a you know, pretty complex process, right? And everything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And that's why I urge you guys always, you know, do those daily prompts, you know, because it can only make you better. You know, you can't really like get worse by practicing, right? So and I understand, you know, a lot of people don't have time, but time to me is more like a priority, setting priorities. So if you don't have time, then you're not setting the priority to the learning, right? So that's how simple it is, and that's okay, right? Like for me, I said a lot, like I value practice a lot because that basically led to a lot of success in various areas of my career, and without the practice, I would have never gotten there. And that's why I value it, and I make sure I prioritize practice every day, because that way I can always grow, and that way I get better in like so many ways, right? Not just like painting, but storytelling, composition, you know, but also tool set wise. And the more you practice and the more you try different things, the more you also get like, the more you get the ability to think outside of the box. Maybe I can approach something differently this time, you know? And yeah, so it cannot hurt, right? So that's why I do these weekly prompts and stuff like that and daily paintings, just to get better, right? Because you want to, and you never know when it will benefit you and how it's going to benefit you, right? I had a lot of cases where I thought, you know, I just do it for fun, but later on in a job, it helped me out, right? Because all of a sudden, because I had that knowledge, I was able to do certain tasks that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So, yeah, so.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So right now, you know, like I'm just freestyling. Like I'm talking mostly, right? And talking and painting is like also a skill that you have to acquire, right? But right now I'm not thinking much. What I'm thinking about here is like I'm trying to just make see what I'm doing. I'm not even mirroring. I'm just like repurposing things. But what I'm doing right now is I'm thinking about a beat up junkyard bot, right? So I don't spend too much time on like making things clean because I like the hand drawn feel of it, you know, and everything just needs to look functional. And, you know, coming back to the personality thing, you know, and like I want the robot to feel really nice and warm. Maybe he has like a beating heart in his center, right? So maybe this is like attached with cables and stuff like that. And the reason why I turn on the wireframe here is because it's ugly, but it makes me see the structure of it, and before I will start to colorize it. I'm not gonna go too far with the body though, because I want to like leave room for colorizing before I start duplicating the crap out of it. But it's like always like I like duplicating, but you know, it's better to have all the foundation before you start doing it. So I should probably not even duplicate the leg, right? So I should basically do this later. Oh, I accidentally duplicated this one. So I can do this later once that side is fixed. So let me put like maybe a yellow beating heart or red, right? Heart needs to be red. Heartbeat is red. So I call this LED. And I separate them into layers later. I don't worry about that right now. So now we have the LED, and now we have like this little cute robot, all right, so let me just finish his head a little quick. Any other questions? Don't be shy. I'm here to talk.
Hi, Goro.
Hey.
This is Muhammad Al-Hayari. So I have a question. When you render this in later in Redshift or some other program, how does the current setup impact the final result? I mean, currently, as you said, it's not very clean. So does the rendering in the other program make it like look cleaner?
No.
Or how does it work?
So it will look like it will look pretty nice though, because it will look exactly like this but shaded, so you can see how things intersect and stuff like that, right? So it will just instead of seeing one color here, of course you will see the shading like this, right? It will follow the basically the strokes. But in this case, it will look really nice because I'm not using the spaghetti technique, right? Where you see like a bunch of lines next to each other like this. And then you bend this and stuff like this. This will create a certain look, right? But this will look like welded metal, because if you have like a bike frame or something like that, it's all welded together like this, right? So it will actually make sense, especially for metal robots like that, if you actually render it as well. So it will. I think it will look really nice. What I would keep in mind when I render this stuff is I would separate the layers differently from the get-go. So, for example, I would make sure that the eyes are on a separate layer, and together with the LED, I'm going to make sure that each material would be on a separate layer. So, for example, the gray areas, those should be like metal, right? So I would just separate them like this, so I can have them on separate layers, so I can apply different materials after the fact. So that's a little bit cumbersome, especially once you start animating the character. So for now, I'm not going to worry about that. But yeah, it's definitely important when you render something to think about structure. So if I do a face, I'm not going to do the face like this, right? I'm going to do it like this. So I like using like this, and then maybe the head extends like this, and then the hair will be like this. I bend it. So that way I have clean geometry when I render it, right? So this is how I can work. And then for the ears and stuff, ears are like, either you can do something like this, very simple, or you do something like this where it will look like an ear, right? So for ears, this is actually the noodles that Quill creates is actually desirable, right? You can actually do it like this and really build a real ear, just like this, right? And then it will look like a real ear. So depending on what you want to do, for the nose, I would refrain from doing something like this. I will just do something like this, duplicate this, right? And work like that, because I know once I smooth it, if you have something like this, it's not going to look very nice. It looks like you will have multiple strokes, but this will look really smooth. So when I render stuff, I stick to more simple shapes, or if it's something like a junkyard robot like that, I don't, think too much about it. I just, paint the shapes the way I want, because I know that this will look pretty good regardless. So.
Yeah, this is clear. Thank you. But this just leaves one question, which was my intention initially.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about the future of Quill in this field? Does it work mainly as you mentioned once, a visual development tool, or can we make some like really finished pixel-like animations starting in Quill and then finishing somewhere else?
Well, I mean, it's just a tool. What you do with it is really up to you, right? I feel like this is definitely the fastest tool I ever used. So it enables me to work incredibly fast for like, whether it is like concept art or for finished work, it doesn't really matter, right? Because the result is not dependent on the tool. The result is dependent on your skill. So, for example, I don't know if you've seen Skate Chickens, my short film, but that was all created in Quill and then rendered in Redshift, which I consider a finished piece. I don't consider this as concept art, right? So it's really up to you what you do with it. One thing I'm certain about is if I ever go back to the film industry, I'm going to take this tool with me because I'm going to be much more versatile and much faster, and I can deliver much more quality, much more reusable work for the artists when you waterfall it down to other departments like rendering department, surfacing department, lighting department and stuff like that. I can give them like already a 3D asset that has all the information they need versus when I would paint a concept in Photoshop that is not very usable, right? I mean, it is usable, but you have to then basically translate it into 3D. So there's stuff that gets lost in translation, and by just doing everything in Quill and using vertex color to colorize, right? All of a sudden, you can import that set into Maya directly, for example, and use it as an asset, whether it's like for whether it's final assets or or if it's just concept and used for like storyboarding and concept art. So definitely, I think it's a powerful tool, the most powerful tool I've ever used in my career. So the future of Quill, I think, it's, of course, primarily you can create VR animations really fast, but it's going to also benefit the 2D side of things, like traditional 3D production tremendously. Like if I can do a short film like Skate Chicken in a month, right? That's not proof enough, because if I would do that in Maya, I would first not get the same result. It's not going to look as charming because you will lose the hand-drawn effect, but it will also take me more than a year to do. And like, I actually don't know if I would have been able to do that in a year in Maya, right? Because I leapfrog all of the rigid body, soft body dynamics and stuff like that. I don't have to deal with gravity and simulations and stuff. It's just like super, super fast. So that's where I see the future is like, it can be used in many ways, and it's going to accelerate production, not just 2D film production, but of course also VR film production.
Yeah, got it. I watched the film actually twice. The one on in VR and the one you put on YouTube last week.
Yeah,
it's really excellent, and the fact that you were able to do it in less than a month is like another story. So yeah, congratulations on that, and thanks for the feedback.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm definitely. It would literally be impossible to do otherwise. Like it is impossible to do it in that time, and that I say because I come from traditional 3D, right? So it's been kind of mind blowing. Like after I finished Skate Chickens, I was like, holy crap! I did this within a month. That's like insane, right? And that's not that shouldn't sound like I'm showing off. I was just surprised that it is possible for me, right? Because when I started working on it, I was like, I don't even know if I can do this, right? But yeah, in the end, I managed to finish it, and that's how powerful this workflow can be, right? So I'm just creating a sky dome here, old school sky dome, because I need some lighting. I started the lighting on the robot without having the environment light, so I want to make sure that I have the environment light ready before. So I'm just gonna, maybe it's a little bit yellow, and then a little bit brighter on the bottom. Or do I do nighttime? No, I already started lighting him. So usually I do the environment light first, but for some reason I didn't do it this time. Probably because I'm talking and I'm distracted, but that's okay. So I do a little trick here. Let me just do grid snap here. Let me show the grid so you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm just gonna do like a little glow. Tyler, what's the time? How am I doing with time?
About a half hour.
Okay. That wasn't Tyler, right? That was Kritzloff.
Boy, what's up with you guys for time? Sorry.
No, that's okay. I think Kritzloff already answered. At least I thought that's his voice.
Sorry, I was spacing out.
No, it wasn't me, but I did just watch the trailer for Skate Chickens.
Oh, okay. And then you can watch the whole thing. You know, it's 3 minutes long, so it's on my YouTube.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Is it available to view in VR, or is it just on YouTube?
Yeah, in VR it's stereoscopic 3D, so it's not VR. It's 3D, just like the real 3D movies in the theater.
Ah, I got you.
Yeah. Okay, there we have the sun with a little glow. Nice. Just put it here. I like backlighting things, you know, because backlight always looks really nice. Because when you paint landscapes and stuff, you will notice if the light is coming from the front, it looks really boring, you know. And then it looks really nice when things are either side lit, you have like a rim light and stuff, or if it's backlit, it looks really nice too. So I usually like side lit scenarios, you know, so you have both fill light and bounce light and everything. Let me just move the sun over here. And maybe, I'm wondering if I should make the sky a little bit bluer. I want purple shadows, so let me make the sky a bit blue. Maybe like this. Yeah, that will look better. And then I will redo the sun. Sun, and then the glow around it. There we go. Yep. And then maybe mix some purple into it just to let the colors vibrate slightly. Just ever so slightly. Just a little purple. Yeah, that's looking good. And then make the bottom a little bit more saturated. Yeah, that's good enough. And then I will work on the ground. So this is the sky. And then just extend the grass a little bit more. So I'm just making it a little bit like a hill. So it will be a great viewing experience when you view it in VR later. So that way, you know, you can focus on here and it looks like it's falling off the edge here. So that's why I like, you know, doing these things. Oops. Just like that. Any more questions, guys? Doesn't have to be related to what I'm doing here, you know, like if you have general questions, how I approach things and stuff, you're welcome to ask them. You know, I can just switch gears and show the stuff here as well. So don't hesitate, even if it's not related to what I'm painting. So now you see I'm using like this bluish tone because it's mixing with the green, right? So it's the shadow side gets fill color from the blue sky, which is why the shadow will have some bluish tint to it. So I might want some cool plants as well. So I'm just gonna draw some plants. Maybe I do something like this. So now I'm thinking about how I can put the gradient, right? So I could have put a gradient from the top because the polygons are running this way. So that's why I turned it this way. Right? And then I will just do some abstract plants. looks like a bush. Maybe it has some flowers in it. And I'm thinking I have optimization in mind right now, so I make it like a little bit lighter weight. I use all like the ribbon brushes, right? So I can maybe place them here. It's like cool little plants. And you know, you can of course create some variations so it doesn't look the same. And then you can duplicate this whole group, cluster them in one area, and that's another. So you create some nice contrast so it looks a bit random, right? Maybe something like this. And maybe some more over here. Let's see. Looks pretty good. Just move them down a little. Yeah, I like that. And maybe there's some trees, paper cutout trees. So I will just do it like this. Just mixing a bunch of different colors in there. Maybe use it as a branch. Because it's a ribbon brush, it will be like super lightweight. And maybe I will add like a really bright highlight on the light side. Just like this.
Goro, are there any plans to add the lighting to Quill?
Well, now it's like it doesn't belong to Meta anymore, so it's like it's all up to Inigo, the inventor of Quill. But lighting was never a thing that we considered, just because it's a painting tool, right? So we don't want to add too much opinion, because what happens when you add lighting is everything starts to look the same. Because you're doing things for the artists, and then artists start relying on it without really thinking about the lighting. So your artwork loses personality, and that's why, you know, when we worked on it, we always said like, hey, lighting is something you can add later in Redshift or, you know, Unity and stuff, where you have a clear intention to light it. But if you don't have the intention to light it, but do the lighting automatically, then things start to look like different from how you would design the art. So it would interfere with your design. So this was a conscious decision not to add it, because you can also tell, for example, Dreams has lighting, right? Like all the work that I've seen in Dreams tends to look very similar, right? And same with like Tiltbush has also lighting. So you can kind of tell which software you used. When you work in Quill, you can't really tell which software you use unless you do like certain things that are characteristic to Quill, where you do the lathe technique, like, you know, this thing where you do this and then you color it. You might guess that this is Quill, right? But if you look at this, and if you look at it through a camera, just like this. This could be painted in Photoshop, you know. You have no clue. Like I can paint exactly like this in Photoshop, and you won't be able to tell the difference, right? So that was the something that we really wanted to preserve, is the artist footprint. We wanted to make sure that every artist's handwriting or hand painting is preserved and recognizable. And that's why you see so much diverse art in the VR animation player, because everybody has a different style, right? So if you look at Zoe's art, you know, it looks very different. If you look at Leia Perano's art, or Roxandra's, or Tyler's, they all have like their specific styles. And you look at the artwork and you can instantly tell that they did it. And it's not that, you know that they did it in Quill. You can tell their design language and design sensibility. So that was like very important for us to maintain.
I feel like the trees are a good example of like what you did with the lighting for the trees.
Yeah. Yeah, that would never happen. And like, if there would be lighting, right? Like, this would not even catch light. So those are the creative decisions you can make if you didn't have lighting, right? Or if you don't have lighting, and that, like, it would interfere with what I wanted to do. If you want lighting, you can just do like what Baron has been doing, is like doing a lot of gravity sketch models, right? So I see a difference between modeling and painting, and this is more like painting to me. And I like modeling too, and in modeling you certainly need lighting, but the focus is on form and it's not on creating like a beautiful like illustration, right? So those are like different use cases. So this is why there was never lighting implemented in Quill, if that answers your question.
Yeah, clear. Yeah, sure. And maybe one more creative question. Do you think this is coming soon to like illustration? Would my children be able to like read, let's say, VR children's books soon? I saw something like that, comics and so, but still, it's still not, I would say, the platform to showcase those illustrations is not dedicated for illustrations only. So my question would be like, would we soon see children's books in VR format?
I think, the problem with VR is it's limited to 13 year and up, right? So it's not really children. So I think legally there's an issue to actually target like toddlers or something, and little children, just because VR is such a new technology. So if you look at all the policies, they say 13 and up because companies don't want to be sued, right? So if you look at, Meta goggles, Microsoft and stuff, they all have, for some reason, that 13-year age limit. Even Facebook itself has a 13-year age limit, right? So just because social media can be, dangerous to young people, right? Because they don't know what they're doing. So I don't think children are the target right now. Down the line,
but let's say graphic novels, for example.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the VR animation player, there's plenty of that type of content there, right? It's just a new, like if you look at Hello, for example, it's to me like a sci-fi graphic novel. I don't know if you've seen Hello from Samuel Klukertz and Nicolas Capitan. Definitely check it out. Like it's, you can just look for, actually, Tyler or Christoph, if you can find the PDP.
Hello.
Yeah. It's really, really good. Actually,
I saw some comics. Sorry to interrupt you, but I saw some comics. But what my point is, like those comics are under the VR, under the Quill player, right?
Yeah.
So my question is, would we see soon something like a platform for graphic novels and such stuff? Because I think this is like interesting, and maybe in the future, yes, children can get in and maybe you can see some children's books.
Yeah, I don't quite understand the difference between the, I mean, VR animation player is kind of like a platform to share this kind of content, right? Like if you're talking about exclusively that stuff, it's up to people if they want to design it. But I think, the VR audience is just like really small still, right? So I think eventually it's going to happen, but I feel like that's up to you also. If you want to create a platform and try to grow something, that is the opportunity right now to do stuff versus like waiting for stuff to happen. So I think that's the exciting part about this new medium, which I feel is still the case. It's like the Wild West, right? Like it's still establishing itself. So I can't predict the future in a way. Like all I know is like Quill is going to be a huge part of my future in terms of like creation as an artist. But, what platforms will exist and stuff like that, I think we're in the middle of figuring that out, right? So I feel like, like I'm not working on anything like that, but, if something like that comes along, I'd love to be part of it, and post my stories and stuff like that. But, that's the exciting part of, I think, this medium, that it is unpredictable. It's like a whole new world of ways to create content.
Sure.
Yeah. Are there plans to add more brushes?
Well, the thing is, like, I'm not working on Quill, so I can't answer that question, right? So, but in the past, we were talking about, stuff like that. But the thing is that a priority, right? Over cameras, for example? It wasn't, right? So that was like, there's a lot of things that would be nice to have. I wanted, like, for example, multi-user. One of the first things that I asked for, right? But would a lot of people use it? No, because the Quill user base is fairly small. And is it useful? Absolutely. But is it a priority? Like, would cameras make more sense? Would rendering make more sense, right? Would mirror tools make more sense? And then I would say, yes, definitely they would, right? So it's more about like setting priorities. But I don't have insight on what the next features will be. But definitely something we talked about. Was it a priority? Absolutely not, right? Because, if you're a good painter, you don't need brushes to do it, right? So that was like how we were. As long as people can paint really well, brushes are a secondary thing that would be nice to have, but it's not necessary, right? So that's how we were always like assessing what feature to work next. For example, timeline and keyframes was, for me, if I had to choose between brushes and keyframes, I would choose keyframes any day, right? So that's how it was basically always assessed. There's a lot of things like people asking, like, why can't you do this? I mean, I agree, it would be nice, but then you wouldn't have this, right? So there's always like a cost in focusing on something else, right? So before brushes, for example, I would love to have better grid snapping tool. I would love to have more for example, adjustment layers, like what an equivalent of adjustment layers would be in Quill, right? I would love to have symmetry drawing. I would love to have selection mirroring, which is currently not possible. You have to like mirror the layer, right? So all of that stuff would be nice to have, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But definitely excited for the future. Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think like the biggest brush request that I even have, and it's like one, not even anything big. It's just to change the like the colorize tools circle to like a cube.
Oh yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, that's actually
that flat.
Yeah, that's actually a really good suggestion. So it's not like a custom brush; it's more like a custom shape brush tip, right? Like,
yeah, it's just like you can choose like, oh, do I want a circle for the fall off, or do you want like even this? I don't think a cube would even need like that. Kind of
if you had this for this, right? Yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah, for pixel graphics, pixel art.
Oh yeah.
Is that for you?
Nice.
Is that what you're looking for?
About is squares.
Yeah. So I'm just
go play Minecraft.
This is starting to look really cool, actually.
Yeah.
I like this. So, okay. Well,
the trees are super sick.
Okay, let's work on some of the. So this is like foliage. Foliage. Fine. That's good. Ground. And of course, animation I will add at the end. I don't even know what this layer is. 0 strokes. So this is the robot. So I'm going to put the robot in a folder. This is the LED. So this is the bot. These are the rocks. Okay, the rocks can use a little bit more love. So let's do this. Some lighting.
I actually have an optimization question, if that's okay.
Yes.
Yep. So I know whenever you have a layer with a lot of complex geometry and you want to animate it, it's best to have keyframes.
Yep.
But if the object that you have in the layer is very small, so let's say up to 10K polys, no more, then is it better to use keyframes or frame by frame?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess keyframes is always lighter, right? But it also adds draw calls. So it's like I think not the keyframes add draw calls, but because you have to have the layers separate, that will add draw calls. So it's a balance of those. So if you get away with the draw calls, then I would always choose keyframes, right? But if I need to, like, for example, do like a little scarf animation or something, I would never use keyframes for that, right? So, for example, I give him a scarf here. Let me choose a different color. And let's say he's in a storm. Like, I don't know how to animate this in keyframes well, right? Like, I have to break this up into like multiple segments, right? I have to do something like this and then rotate them like this, right? So that's like 5-6 draw calls already, right? So in this case, it really depends on what that is. This is like 10K, right? Let's say that's 10K. It's 5K, right? So I duplicate this 12 times, and then I would just do classic grab tool animation, right? Oops, I better loop it. So this stuff looks really good with grab tool, right? So this is something I would never do in keyframes, although I have now 4K times 12, right? But it's much more. And then if you look at the geo, you can of course optimize it like this, So it really depends. But if it's something like the head of the robot, I will probably use keyframes, right? If I can get away with the draw calls. So that would be one draw call for the head, one draw call for the torso, and then multiple for the hands, for the arm and stuff like that, right? So really depends on the situation, but keyframes generally are desired to make things lighter, right?
Yeah.
Does it make sense? Okay, cool. Okay, let me do some sick grass.
Sick grass.
Not sick in terms of COVID sick. Sick in terms of good sick. There we go. I wonder where Daniel Pesce is. I miss him. Like he moved to Mallorca and we don't hear anything from him anymore. I think he had like an interview recently, right, in Mallorca, but other than that, I haven't seen any Quill work from him in a long time. So what's up with that? Daniel Pesce, if you hear me, come back. We need you.
I've been poking him a little bit just to see what he's been doing. I know he just finished his move and he's been working with his new job.
Yeah, at Moon.
Drag him in here by his feet.
Yeah, and Moon Studios, great studio, by the way.
Oh yeah, wasn't it the Ori studio?
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
They contacted me for Ori before Ori came out, like 3 years or something before it came out. They're like, hey, we're working on this forest game with a wisp and stuff. And I was like, guys, I don't have time, sorry. That could have been, one of my first projects to work on.
Ooh. Yeah, it's so pretty.
People actually ask me, did you work on this? It looks like your art. Because it's very similar to what I do, right? Like it's the whimsical forests and stuff like that, so.
Yeah. Less robots.
Less robots, that's true. But a lot of good glowing wisps.
Goro's got a clause that if it doesn't have a robot, he can't do it. He's legally not allowed.
There was recently like a French, I think the game is called Stray. People were just bombarding me with like, oh, people ripping off your artwork. Or did you work on it? And I'm like, no, I didn't work on it. And then, yeah, they're probably getting inspired by my work. It does look like my art, but, who knows?
I've heard of this. I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah, if you look at Stray, it looks straight like my art. It's funny.
Oh, bro, you should sue.
Sue them, bro.
I think Kurt hit me up and he was just like, dude, I didn't know Goro had an alt account on Instagram, and he sent me a link to like a profile, and it looked just like your avatar you have, but it was like,
oh yeah, I've seen that one,
slightly edited.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah, that happens.
Like, What's the point?
Yeah, people do weird shit, you know.
People do weird shit, Goro 2022.
Yeah, I only go after people when they try to sell my stuff. You know, that happens too. Then I'm like, dude, don't. Just don't. And usually they take it down. So this is a little trick that I like to do for like cartoon eyelids, especially when I want to render them. So I just push it in ever so slightly. You have to be careful with the grab tool. And then I have a half dome. And then I just put it as an eyelid. It's really cool. Doesn't always work well, but for this case, it's pretty nice. And then, you know, here you can also think about the orientation of the eyeball, because this way you can actually add bounce light. You know, so maybe they're not too impressed by the story. He's telling, "Oh, Yari, this looks like Zendong with a mouse." If Yari is still here, right? Like that's a coincidence. I just noticed. It looks like the little needs to be like orange, right?
Yeah.
And let's do that. There's a German show. It's a German show, I think, Yari, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a little mouse. But I like gray, actually, so I'm going to keep the mouse gray. But that was funny. Childhood memories. And lower lid. I wouldn't read to these mice. They don't look very engaged. What the hell? And like, next. Next story, please. Boring. Oops. Just do here. They're gonna be not moving. I'm not gonna animate them. So let's do like a really quick design. He looks intoxicated. Love it. So position them here in a circle. Okay, darken it a little, add a little bit of structure. Okay. Light is coming from the front, so I have to just add a little bit of lighting here.
Bedtime story. They're all falling asleep.
Maybe, yeah. Yep. Bedtime story during day.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just duplicating these things here just to get some variation in color, and then
just a bottle of booze in their hand.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
My God.
Yes, let's do that. It's actually not kids. So, that was a good idea.
Why we had that 13 age requirement.
Exactly.
Plot twist.
Yeah, I didn't know that technically VR had that. I didn't, like, obviously, you know, you could stick it on a 5-year-old and say go. And,
yeah, I think it's. I think it's really because there's not much research, right? So they don't want to be responsible. VR companies don't want to be responsible for any lasting damages, right? Because I think any new thing is always introduced to, you know, like even cell phones had an age limit first, right? So, because there wasn't there like cell phone, what is it called? Like the cell phone reception, the what is it called? Not the waves will affect your fertility and stuff, right?
God.
Yeah, I do know it has some like
effect.
Yeah, it's like
it must have something
on, like developing brains or something.
I mean, if VR has an effect, I'm screwed.
we're all gonna, our heads are gonna pop.
Yeah, that's true. So then, for that, it's too late anyway. You know. So,
I think it's got something to do with like balance or something like that. I don't know.
The cell phone stuff?
No.
The VR. Oh yeah, I could see vertigo, but I think it could also heal things like vertigo. You know. So
yeah, it could.
Yeah. So it could have a healing effect too. Look at this. He's like ready to. He's drinking. So okay, let me do. This guy is just sitting down. So maybe he's more like, this is good. This is a good story. Oh my god. Oh my god. Like, oh my god. See, this is how you can tell story. Everybody is receiving the story differently. That's good enough. Oh my god. And it's like, oh my god. And this guy is more like, oh. Okay, so we have like a bunch of mice here. Oh, look at this, a little grass ledge. Nice. I need some generic ones. Some more. He's more normal. Maybe he's cross-eyed.
Spend too much time in VR.
Yeah. That brings me an idea. Maybe one guy is in VR, completely disengaged. So, he's just chilling, hands relaxed, just like this. Okay. Oh yeah, he's checked out. And this guy is in VR. Doesn't need to make sense, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
VR outside? Impossible.
Oh yeah, the sensors will get damaged from the UV light, but no. Shall we give him a CV1 or a Quest? CV1 for the.
We gotta give him.
What?
Yeah,
Quest?
CV1's better.
Yeah.
CV1's better.
Yeah, okay. It's a matter of this or this. It's CV1. I'm wearing a CV1, so let's give him a CV1. I think it does this, right? Comes around. And he has the headphones that don't fit. Oh, he can put them upwards. They can be rotated.
Oh.
Maybe they were designed for mice.
Yeah, that makes so much more sense now.
We finally found the answer why. And then he has a VR ready laptop here.
Nice.
Let me just use the flat brush here. Okay. This is not the most efficient way to do a laptop, so let me make it more efficient. Okay, and then he needs sensors, right? So.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, those old things. I always forget about those.
It's
I don't.
good, man.
All over the place.
Yeah, they deliver such good tracking. So.
Yeah.
And you need like 5,000 USB ports on your.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
All right. It's like in the way.
I've seen the sensors.
This is awesome. Love this.
Let him put a little bit outside of the group.
Oh, you mean move him away? It's kind of cool that he's like, oh, he's here. Okay, so.
Almost feels like an ad for like the Quest line.
Okay, I think this is looking pretty good. I think he needs to be animated for sure.
The one guy that's always goofing off during story time.
That is actually looking good. Okay, we're at the hour mark, so let me just start animating. I think I have to like start working on the robot a little bit. So I'm gonna go a little bit over, maybe like 15-20 minutes over. So we'll see. So hang in there, hang in tight, and I'm just gonna create a book. So let me just quickly create a book here.
I'll write a whole book.
Oh yes. The Sodex. He might be reading from the Sodex. That would be cool. I think this needs to be darker. Let me just colorize it. You know, Tyler, how not precise I am here. I don't give a damn about precision right now.
Gasp.
Yeah, sorry about that. This one's not for you.
I like how every time there's a stream and someone's taking a slight like liberty on the messiness, they always have to call me out. Like,
yep.
Hey, I know I'm ruining your life.
Yeah, but you know, you have that reputation for being clean, which is a good reputation, right? That's good.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's now tradition. Just always apologize to Tyler when you create.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like
a thing.
Tip jar.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like a swear jar.
Sorry,
mess jar.
Tyler.
Mess jar.
So you know what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna shortcut here, and I'm just gonna animate the arm at once. So I'm just gonna duplicate this. I'm not gonna even, but maybe I do mirror. So I'm just gonna duplicate, put it on an X-ray layer, reset, and flip an X, and there we have the other arm. So there we go. Put it like this, and then we can put the pivot in the center, and then we can move the arms like this. So that's good, right? So this is the arms. And then I'm just gonna separate the head and the neck. So this is gonna be the head. And for people that don't know, you can select something and hit new layer, and it will automatically move the selected strokes into a new layer, which is like a function I use a lot. So he's reading the book. Sodex. Nice. Okay. I think the book needs to be a little bit more angled. So let me just fix that real quick. Angled. There we go. So it looks like he's reading, and a little bit higher. A little bit higher. Like that. There we go. That's looking good. And then we need the torso. So this is going to be the torso. So I'm just going to put everything in there but the torso. Oops. No. What's going on? I have to remove the legs. That's what I have to do. So remove the legs. And then put the legs here. And then put the torso in there. This is going to be the torso. This is just like some basic layer management here. So I can do stuff like this, right? Oops. Stuff like this. This is looking good. And then for the leg, I'm just going to duplicate the leg to the other side. Oops, let me just turn off the selection here and move the leg over. Let's just mirror it too, so it's faster. We said flip and X. There we go. And then we will change the angle a little bit so it doesn't look like it's mirrored. So just like maybe putting the foot down here. Does it reach? Let's see. Any more questions? Or just watching? Oh, that's good. That's looking good.
I'm happy the live streams are back.
Yeah. Yeah, I always wanted to bring them back, but my life was like in chaos for a while, so I'm like, I can't handle this. But now I can.
So. Totally get that.
Okay, some more grass. Some more grass to cover up some stuff. Yeah, I think that's good. I think I can start animating almost. Let me see if I can do the lighting. If I did the lighting right, I think the rocks need like a little bit of shadow. So let me make sure. A little bit of blue from the sky fill. So it will be a bluish shadow, and obviously under the robot we need some shadow. And some ambient occlusion. So we have some ambient occlusion there, darker at the contact. Yeah, that's looking really good. And then we will add a little bit of ground shadows as well here. Just hand draw it so it looks nicer. And some shadow here. Some shadow there. And then some ambient occlusion over here. So we have some nice contact shadows. Just an indication is enough. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is a concept sketch anyway. Okay, this is good. Let me just check which layer the mice are. And I'm just going to optimize them just a tad. Yeah, that's good. And then I think, let me just animate them all. 1 second is enough. 24 frames. Okay, and then he's a... he can't sit still, so he will be like, oh. I have to make sure that the pop is not as obvious. It's always a little bit difficult to do, but...
Maybe it's like a little hiccup.
Oh yeah, but then it would be a longer animation, right? So right now it's 1 second, so we'll just like keep it to a simple loop. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good enough. And then he said, "Oh," he's like, "What? What? What?" And he is like, Yeah. That's good enough. Enough animation.
The one in the VR should be looking at the other side even.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
I mean like this?
This happens in my home.
That's actually pretty funny. Like, let me see if I can select him. Just see if I can salvage it. And then just unselect this cable here. That's pretty disrespectful. This is actually pretty funny. Let's do that. And then we will just bend this cable around. There we go. See, I love how the story develops like that. Okay, now we work on the bot and then we should be done. So I'm just gonna work on the arms. And for the arms, because I want to make it seem, a little bit random, I'm gonna make maybe a 4-second loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe an 8-second loop. Because this is going to be keyframed, I'm not too worried about the length. So 8 seconds will be a nice way to show randomization. So what I'm gonna do is like, I'm gonna set a keyframe in the beginning, set a keyframe at the end, and then I'm just gonna turn off translate, and so I can only rotate, so translate in scale. So when I grab, I can just move the arms, right? So rotation is still on. Oh yeah, I just want rotation, but I will only rotate over this x-axis anyway. So I'm just gonna hit play and then do like, just like a little idle animation and let go. And then set this to linear, and then you see it looks like a really cool idle animation right there. Then next I'm gonna do the same thing for the head. So I will make it look like he's reading. So in this case, I will just start, maybe I will start like this. So he's looking at the left side of the book. I will quickly have to redo the keyframe at the end. And then he's gonna and there we go. That's pretty good. And then lastly, the torso. The torso can actually be like, you know, keyframed. So I'm just gonna do random keyframes here. One here, one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. And then I will do the midsections by just moving. So it looks like he's breathing. And then select all and make it spline. And then it will look like this. Cool. All right. I think this looks pretty good. I destroyed the tree here. So let me just fix the tree. I just delete this. And let me just see if I can add a few more. Oops, I have translate and scale off. Something like this. This is pretty good. All right, so yeah, I think now we can start optimizing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do an all over optimization pass with this much, and we can just turn on the wireframe to see what happens. Optimize all. That's pretty good. So let's see if it changes any colors. Nope, it looks good. How about now? No, this is a little bit broken here, but let me go back. Oh, I broke it anyway. So that's fine. Let's see, this looks light enough. Let's see what the performance panel says. 12 draw calls, 451,000 polygons. Where's the bad guy here? I think it's the ground. The ground can be much lighter, I think. So let me just do this. So now it's like 329. We have a bot here. So the bot, let me see what's heavy. The bot, the arms are pretty heavy. So I think we can just optimize the arms. Yeah, much better. And then the head can do optimize as well. Yeah, perfect. And this one as well. So now it should be much lighter. Oh, very light. Okay. I think maybe we do give him a book of the Sodex. What is it? Did somebody say something? No? Okay. Maybe some soda bubbles. Let's do some soda bubbles. Somebody is unmuted. And Tyler, could you mute the person? Thank you.
Tyler's not here anymore.
Oh, who did mute? Somebody.
He muted himself.
Okay, perfect. Got the warning. There you go. That's cool.
I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
It just started raining. I was going to ask a question.
Yeah.
But first of all, like, hi everybody. I'm Simon. Nice to meet you all.
Hey Simon, welcome.
Yeah. So my question is related to like painting.
Yeah.
I saw you drawing over, like writing the thing on the book. So I was trying to figure out how do I paint a surface, like, you know, like smoothly, you know. Let's say it's a.
You have to spend a lot of time. Well, so
no.
Yeah, so no joke. Actually, you would do something like this, right? But if you have the cube, you would have to paint over it. So what I do, okay, so there's few things you can do. Like, for example, if I have a robot where I want to show the weathering and stuff like that, right? Of when I want to paint one side of a cube. What I do, I do usually tend to work with the grid snap, and then I do like one square brush stroke, and then I will color one side, right? And then I, do this. And then you can duplicate it twice, right? Redo, and then you have a cube, right? And then you can work on the lighting. So from the top, shadow on the front, so it's a little bit darker. Now you have this. Now you want to add some weathering, like it's scratches and stuff like that, right? So it will reflect, it will show the paint underneath, not the paint, the metal underneath. So you start like drawing weathering. And maybe there's like a hole here. And there's some oil leaks, right? So, and you can use the ribbon brush for this stuff, so it's lighter weight. And then let's increase some of the scratches. So maybe there's some scratches here. And you can also make some deep scratches by adding some shadow to it, right? So these are some deeper scratches that have like, and then you start seeing this, right? And then you can also add some gradient to it, depending on how you painted it. So maybe the bottom part is a little bit darker, and the top portion is a little bit brighter. And this is how you can start basically showcasing, creating the illusion of, surface paint very easily and very fast. And it doesn't take long, right? So
yeah,
look at that.
So it just boils down to like control.
Yeah, always. There's no automation in Quill, right? So Quill is not forgiving in that sense, but if you know the principles and stuff like that, it's super, super powerful, right?
When you're writing, don't you use like a grid or something, like assist? Is there something like that?
Yeah, you can bring in a PNG and then trace it, right?
Like PNG,
so you can like do something, and then you work on with the grid snap. If you keep the index finger trigger, if you hold it, you can do something like this, and then you can do this, right? And then, for example, for an R, you would do like Roxandra did a good job for the Santa's delivery scored credits and stuff, but it's a little bit tedious. But then you can do it really, like once you have it, it's actually pretty fast, So the key is you can just zoom in really far and then work on the details, and then once you have it, and you can just duplicate it. You have a full alphabet, right? So there's no typing in Quill. That was one thing that I requested as well, but again, not a priority, right? Painting is priority. So let me just quickly shoot a video here.
Thank you so much.
Yep. So for the video, a trick I do, so we're 1 hour, 15 minutes, but I'm going to finish with the video. So what I usually do is I just reset transforms, so it's like in the center of the scene, and then I move it out straight out on the z-axis, and then I'm going to group it, and I'm going to group it twice. So this group is for tilt, and this group is for moving, and I move it by scaling. So what that does is I can actually use this to rotate around things. So if I bring in the monitor here, you can see I can like control this with just like make really complex moves with just 2 keyframes. So let me make a square format here, and then I can just use this one for tilt. So I can do low angles like this or high angles like this. And with the master handle, I can just zoom in like this, right? So I can establish a shot maybe like this and create a keyframe here. And maybe I will do a camera root folder. So I can keyframe both. So this is the camera, and I keyframe all the children. So now I go here, 4 seconds. Maybe I hit record. Do something like this. And then while I'm doing that, I could zoom in or even reframe a little bit. And then what you see is now, let me make this actually linear. So I'm going to select both, make it linear. So you see like this is a pretty complex camera move where you kind of rotate into the robot. That's pretty cool. And then I get a close-up of the robot now. So for the close-up, I will just move in, zoom in by just scaling the camera. So start here. And then make sure that you select the parent and then keyframe all, because I also want to work on the tilt, right? And then I go to like maybe 7 seconds, stop, and then move the camera over like this. But while I'm doing this, maybe I want to move up like this or down so we can actually read the codecs. So now I'm just going to go here and key all children. And now I have this. So now you see that this was a stepped keyframe, so I'm going to make it linear. So there you go. This looks pretty good. And now it's the time to introduce the little mice. And I'm going to intentionally reveal the VR guy last, because that's going to be funny. So I'm just going to go ahead, key all children here, and then move the center of the rotation to this mouse. So we start probably with, let's start with the scared one, because that establishes kind of like the story that he's telling a scary story. And then in contrast, we show the guy with a beer, right? So let's showcase this. So this is for the tilt. So we can tilt up like this and then maybe pan over to the other guy. So actually, I think it's cool when we start here. And then we're going to pan over. Just like this. And maybe rotate a little bit. Lower angle might be nicer. So let's see what that looks like. Pretty cool. Okay, now I might have... Yeah, let's start a little bit further out. So let me start a little bit more like this and maybe more like this. Yeah, and then we're gonna show the drinking guy, which is gonna be funny. It's a plot twist. He's kind of drunk. So let me just do this angle and maybe rotate this. Something like this. 3, 4. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Yeah, and then lastly, we're gonna show the VR guy. And then we have a story. And then the way I want to reveal it is probably that it looks like he's paying attention, but then you see that he's not. So let's show him from here. And then create a keyframe here for everything. And then we will make it like this, bring this down, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe here. So, okay, I'm just counting just to get the feel for timing, and then we just rotate over and zoom out and go higher up so we see the whole context. Something like this, and let's see if that works. Something like this. And let's see if that looks good. All right, let's see. That's pretty funny. And it's a bit too fast, so I'm going to slow it down a little. Okay, that's good. Okay, and then now let's see it in the preview. But before that, I'm going to change the cuts to stepped keyframes. So I see there's a mistake here. Let me remove this keyframe here. And then make this stepped. Make this transition stepped. This transition stepped. This one stepped. Okay, now it should look really cool. And there we go.
This is cool.
That's today's stream. So thanks for joining me today, and sorry for the short notice, but this was super fun. I'm gonna add some sound to this, and then once I have the sound, I'm gonna also upload it to View in VR. So I'm gonna set up some spawn areas so you can check it out in VR as well. But let me just lastly just show it one more time in the preview. So here you can set the render range. So if you render camera, you can set the range here. Where's the keyframe? Yeah. It's set to the right range. And then here you can preview it clean what you're going to render. Reading the Codex Volume 1. He's scared. And then he's like, don't care. I'm fine. New Quill feature. What can I do? I'm disengaged.
Yeah, that guy's experiencing the Codex.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so that's it for today. Thanks you guys for joining in. This was super fun. Hope you enjoyed the stream, and see you guys next week.